Hey y'all! Welcome back to Books and Boarding Passes. If you're new here, my name is Taylor and today we are going to be talking about Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, which is the first book in the Last Hour series. Super cute today. Just a little surprise. I actually have 2 copies of this book. Obviously, I was not able to get it signed because all book signings were canceled this year due to the horrible pandemic going on in the entire world. But I have 2 copies of this, so I would love to give one away to someone that does not have a copy. So, I will leave the instructions on how to enter to win this down in the description below. It'll have all the information on how to enter, when I'm announcing the winner, things like that, down in the description below if you want a good old hard copy of this book. If you have watched my channel before, you know I don't typically talk about Cassandra Clare books because I can't deal. I don't know how to explain my love for this author or any of her books, but I realized I need to start so that way I can enjoy watching these videos back. So this is the 4th series in Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunter world. There is a series that comes before this timeline-wise that's called The Infernal Devices. I do recommend reading that before you read Chain of Gold just because it'll spoil quite a few things for you, but as always, you can dive straight in with Chain of Gold. I just don't recommend it. And like always, I recommend reading in publication order, which you can find with a simple Google search. No problem. I didn't reread The Infernal Devices. I have read them, but a long time ago before I read this book, and I deeply regret it. So reread if it hasn't been fresh on your mind because you're going to need to know a lot. For example, for this review, I had to take the good old back off of, I think it's Clockwork Princess. Yes, it says it right here. To look up a family tree and then also take extensive notes because the family dynamic in this whole thing is bonkers. But I do have to say, if you are all into a book series because of the characters, read this. I think this might be my favorite like friend family dynamic. That is including the Mortal Instruments. I love all these characters. That's what I'm here for. I'm more into that, the socializing and all that, than I am any other aspect of a book. So let's just dive right into it. If you don't want to be spoiled, please come back and watch this later because I don't want to spoil it for you, but go read it. Come back because I really can't say anything other than I love this book. I give this book like an A+. Let's just go ahead and give it an A+. I don't have anything bad to say about it. So A+ rating, characters are great, relationships are great. Just, it's it. Okay, so see you later if you don't want to be spoiled. Bye. Okay, so let's just start. Good old Cordelia Carstairs is, I think, supposed to be like the main character. Clearly she's on the cover, as you can see, which the artwork is beautiful. She, one, is beautiful, as Cassandra describes her. She has a beautiful like Persian skin tone, but with red hair, which I love, and I think is not greatly depicted on the front, and let me show you why. I think on the cover of this book, yes, you can tell that she has a, a medium brown skin tone, but it almost kind of could be depicted as a shadow. But it's better depicted here in the front cover of the book, which this artwork is so beautiful. So then you see a lot better here, her darker complexion, which I'm just like, yes, let's get some representation. So, not only is she beautiful, but she's also a badass. And not in a showy way. She's not like Emma in The Dark Artifices, and she's not as damsel in distressy as I felt like Clary was the first time I read Infernal Devices. But she's also not as badass as Tessa. She's like a perfect medium in between all 3 of those characters. So I think she's going to be possibly my favorite character female character, at least, in all of Cassandra Clare's books, because she's perfection. Then, just to kind of counteract her character, her brother Alistair, which I'm like, why would you name somebody Alistair Carstairs? It's just a lot of R's at the end, you know, just, oh. I just imagine Cardi B trying to pronounce his name. He, I think, is going to have an amazing character arc, because, you know, obviously in the beginning, everyone knows that he is a royal asshole. If you read the Shadowhunter Academy books? Yes. No? Yes. Because he was not great to everybody. So, you kind of, throughout the book, obviously find out that he has some demons that he's dealing with himself. Clearly, by the picture in this illustration, you can see that he has blonde hair. And so I just thought that was natural at first. It ends up that he, like, dyes his hair because he's, like, that ashamed of himself. He's also been dealing with a lot of family stuff and deals, or, you know, I can't even remember if, like, he's the one that's necessarily in super denial about his sexuality, but I think that he's going to have a redeeming character arc. But in the first book, in Chain of Gold, he is a royal asshole. But I think it's a good contrast between him and Cordelia. So you have that family, the Carstairs. Then you have the good old Herondales, which is Lucy and James. Some people might think that they're the main characters. I think just all of them are the main characters, but if I had to pick one for this first book, it would definitely have to be Cordelia. Anyways, so Lucy and Cordelia are the same age. I'm pretty sure they are 16 years old in this book, if I'm not mistaken. And this is actually in the early 1900s is when this is set in London. I almost forgot about that. So we're back in London for this book. Or still in London, maybe, if you're reading it in, like, timeline order. But Lucy is all of the good parts of her parents. And, of course, if you've gotten this far, I'm sure you've read this book, you've read The Infernal Devices. Her parents are Will Herondale and Tessa, and I think James got all the negative, or what could be perceived as a negative, attributes of their parents, and Lucy seemed to get all of the positive, good attributes of her parents. And I think that her and Cordelia being parabatai is going to be out of this world amazing. I feel like we haven't had real good representation of two female parabatai so far. Yes, I know I'll probably say parabatai wrong, but that's fine. I've said it in front of Cassandra Clare multiple times, and I have no shame. But I just think that it's really cute when they first come together in this book, because they haven't spent a ridiculous amount of time together, but they still have, like, a serious devotion to each other, and I can't wait to see how that's going to blossom. But Lucy is, to me, just like how I compared the siblings of the Carstairs. I think the Herondales are the same way. Lucy comes off as, you know, rainbows, sunshine, clouds, the whole 9 yards, where James comes off kind of doom and gloom, when I really think that they're the opposite. Because when you find out that she literally controls the dead, I'm like, yes, she literally is the princess of death. I'm just like, I cannot be more excited about this girl that, like, runs around pretty much just, like, happy-go-lucky all the time, and is constantly writing, like, fiction and updating everybody about it, which, of course, I know as readers, y'all love that also. So, the fact that she's that way is amazing. And her entanglement then with Jessie Blackthorne, which I'll get to that later, just really, like, gives you a kind of two-sided coin of her personality, where she is very positive and wants to help people, but then she's also has a secretive side to her. And then when her powers come into play, you realize that we're gonna get a little bit more depth with her throughout the series, which I cannot wait for. Then you have James, which is, he is literally his dad with a sprinkle of his mom in the best way possible. He's always like, I am the grandson of a prince of hell. And then we're like, okay, we get it. So is Lucy, which, poor thing, she wants to be included. She's like, I'm evil too, guys, okay? That's cute, sweetie. But I'm like, maybe we're on something here, because I think James is so self-deprecating that he doesn't realize that like his little sister that he loves so much has the same blood that he does. So she can't be better than him, and he can't be more evil than her. I think a lot of people thought James was going to have a power of just being able to turn into a shadow, and just from some hints that we were given in some other book series and some spoilers, stuff like that, when you quickly find out that he's actually just bebopping from like realm to realm and world to world, it's like, I thought this dude was like a legit shadow, like a shadow on the wall. And then in this book series, I feel like they almost made it sound like he like turned into like a puff of cloud, like mist or smoke. Did anybody else think that, or was that just me? Anyways, and it takes him literally forever to find out who his grandfather is. He guesses all the wrong things, and I really did. I thought we were going to have another situation like Jace and Jonathan, where I thought he was for real going to stay with his grandfather. I was ready for it. And then Cordelia is like, watch out everybody, I got this. I ain't never needed no man, ain't gonna need no man. And just saves the day, and she's like, let me wrap this rope around me and just dive right into hell. Just real casual like. That's my girl. And speaking of Herondales and Blackthorn relationships, why is James literally so stupid? He would be the worst detective on the face of the planet. He did not figure out who his grandfather was. And he can't figure out the fact that Miss whatever her name is, what is it, Emma Blackthorn? What is it? Grace. Emma, whatever. Grace has like some kind of spell on him, quite literally. Because when he's away from her for a specific amount of time, he literally forgets about her existence. But when she is around, he's like so in love with her that he's in pain. Like this is some kind of like Hawthorne Heights song. Sir, this is not 2003. This is not on some emo stuff. Like, let's calm down. So he really is convinced that he's in love with this girl, knowing darn well that he's in love with Cordelia. I can't say anybody's names because I'm so hype right now. Grace Blackthorn. Let's get to them. Let's get off the Herondales. The Blackthorns make my head hurt. So if y'all can't tell, there's a theme here where siblings are kind of like opposites of each other, and nothing is more opposite than good old Grace and Jesse Blackthorn. Even though they're not like blood siblings, Grace is a ward of the Blackthorns. Where did they come from? I don't trust it because Tatiana is crazy. And so I know there's a lot of theories out there that like everything from she literally is just a ward and there's not that big of a deal, all the way to like she might be a demon that was put in some girl's body and is helping her. I'm just like, if Tatiana had that much power, she would have raised Jesse from the dead by now. But that's beside the point. One of my favorite like little like flashbacks was when Lucy and Jesse met out in the woods. I thought that was so cool, just a little tidbit of backstory. And I love that he's kind of just in the middle, kind of floating around, where it's like he's not really a ghost, but he is, and he's dead, but he's not really dead. And you know, it's just kind of confusing, but I really enjoy his whole storyline and how I think he has very deep love for his mom and his sister, but I think he knows what they're doing is wrong, and it's definitely shown by the end of it when he's willing to give his literal last breath. Literal last breath. So that, I almost called him Will. So James could live. But we all know, if you're a fan, if you're a real fan and all that stuff, that he ends up with Lucy because it says it in the family tree, even though Cassie has told us multiple times that this family tree isn't 100% correct. So clearly they find out some kind of sort of way to really bring him back, which works out perfect if they're really meant to be together, because if he would have lived, I think they would have been like 19 years apart in age. Kind of creepy. But then, I mean, if you were ever into some vampire stuff like Twilight or whatever, Edward was like a trillion years older than Bella in real life. So, you know, let's not get too picky here. Because if we nitpick everything, then you wouldn't be able to read just about any book when it comes to stuff like that. Anyways, so we have Grace over here being real evil on some real evil shit. And has convinced James to be like grossly in love with her, which I'm sure is Tatiana's doing, but I can't really gauge what Grace is getting out of this. All I know is that I hate her with like the power of 1,000 burning suns. I cannot stand her, and I want horrible things to happen to her. I said what I said. I'll die on that hill. Anyways, so when she came for Matthew and tried to come between, I hate when people try to come between parabatis. It makes me crazy. And when she kisses Matthew, tries to blackmail him, and then ends up leaving James, I don't acknowledge the relationship. For Charles, which is another set of siblings that are total opposites. Because, listen, I need to get serious real quick. I will die for Matthew. I need y'all to hear me. Die for him. I think he's going to be my favorite male character. Clearly the Herondales have a thing for like having parabatis. They have addiction issues. It's relatable. We stand. So here you have good old Matthew Fairchild. That is just like a sweet little cupcake that just so happens to also be an alcoholic. And he just, I just really wanted Lucy or Cordelia to end up with him. Clearly we know that neither one of them do. But I just want him to have like just the best life. He deserves everything, you know? And then here his brother that literally all he cares about is just like advancing his career, like his almost like political career with the fellow Shadowhunters. And I'm like, listen, you must not know what Cassandra Clare's about and like what all these friends are about and all these books. Nobody cares about any of that. So how could you be so evil? And then he's not only, he's playing in Grace. He's got like 18 beards. Can't figure it out. When really he's in love with Alistair, who's supposed to be with Thomas. I'm confused. Speaking of, the Merry Band of Thieves. Love the concept. Dig it. But who I feel like is the leader and like the puppeteer in the most positive way you could mean a puppeteer of the Merry Band of Thieves is Anna. You got Anna, who is like the baddest bitch of them all, and she's out here making every girl on the street fall in love, and men. Nobody can figure out what's going on. And I feel like she's like, to me, what Magnus Bane was to the Mortal Instruments. I feel like Anna brings all the worlds together. Or maybe she's more like Luke. Because I just feel like she brings all of the Downworlders and the Shadowhunters and everybody together. And she's like, everybody live their life and do what you want. And her like dressing up Cordelia and making her like feel herself. I loved that. And then her poor Thomas, her cousin, that is just like the sweetest little thing. And you don't really get to see Charles much. Not Charles, Christopher. Christopher is his name. There's so much intertwining families on top of the massive love octagons that Cassandra Clare loves to give us, that this series is going to leave me 6 feet under in a grave with a smile on my face, but still in a grave. You get what I'm saying? It's just a lot. And I feel like I just tried to review this and I didn't really tell anything other than the fact that I love all of these characters except for Grace. You're dead to me. Why can't she be the dead one, you know? I just don't feel it. I don't get... She's not even a good villain. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't... You know how you love to hate some characters? I don't even love to hate her. It's like an inconvenience. Not a fan. 0 out of 0 stars. Negative F. It's not a negative F. It's an F minus. Failed the class. Retake it. Restart a grade. Awful. So we end the book with James and Cordelia having a fake engagement. Is it just me, or is this every One Direction fan fiction of all time where it's like, I ran into Harry Styles on the street and his manager made us fake get married, by the end of it we fell in love. No? Anybody? Anybody out there? Just me? Okay. So we clearly know where that's all gonna go. But what gets me is that James is supposedly dead. Not James, sorry. Jesse Blackthorne is supposedly dead. Clearly he's not. We know he comes back some way. I don't know what it is with the Blackthorns and raising people from the dead. Why do y'all gotta play with the dead all the time? Somebody tell me. So hopefully that situation will end up way better than it did in the Dark Artifices. Cross our fingers. The Merry Band of Thieves, thank goodness, are all still friends, but if something breaks them up as friends, even for a smidgen of a time during this series, I will lose my shit. I think everyone except for Anna is still in the closet, which I know it's 1903, and so to act like everybody's just out would be not realistic, but I just wish everybody could live their lives, you know, even if it's a fictional character. And then Grace is supposedly engaged to Charles, who literally broke off his engagement with his current fiance while she was dying in a coma. So we're working with some real grade A personalities here. So we'll just see in the next one. But I don't even know what to think. Obviously, I'm discombobulated. Don't even really know what's going on. And that's it for today. If you want to, you know, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, any of that, all those links will be down in the description below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Express yourself. That's what we're here for at Books and Boarding Passes. And I think that's it. None of this made any sense. Fully aware of that. Leave your comment down below and let me know who you think is the worst character in this book, other than Grace. I think we all agree that it's Grace. Tell me who your favorite and least favorite characters were in this book down below. And until next time, do what you do. Bye, guys.